What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Murray. This is a show about generational wealth, about finance, about wealth in general.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
In today's show, we have Caleb and his wife on here about to drop some gems. His wife, Sharice Dossman. This brother here is a Keller Williams real estate agent. This brother has 14 years of real estate investing experience. When we're talking about generational wealth, this brother is the example of that. This man told me he has 5 properties. Get this. The brother had 6 properties, sold one to be able to quit his job. Come on, fellas. Welcome this man and his wife to the show, Caleb and Sharice Dossman. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Black Men Sundays. I am honored to have you guys here. It's a blessing because, like I tell all our guests, you guys can be anywhere in the world, but you're spending time out of your day with us. 5 properties deep, looking good, skin looking vibrant, looking like you've been to the Ponds Institute, looking like you own the Ponds Institute. So Caleb and Sharice, it's Black Men Sundays. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Appreciate that introduction, man. Glad to be here. I got my wife with me. I couldn't be where I'm at without her. So we partners. We both invest. We both do this together. So just wanted to give you guys just a little bit of background, education background, and kind of introduce ourselves. My name's Caleb Dossman, and just a little education background. I got my bachelor's in business management, and then I moved on to get my MBA with the concentration in management, and also currently a realtor for Keller Williams Realty, and been an investor since '08. And some remember in 2008 that was a recession, during the recession, and that's when we started. And currently I manage all of our personal properties, plus manage other people's properties.
So I'm Sharice Dossman. So also some educational background for me. I have a bachelor's degree in finance. I also have an MBA in management. I currently work at a financial institution. I'm a business analyst there. I've been there for about approximately 14 years. I actually have worked in various positions within that organization. I've worked in credit. I've also worked in the refinance department. So I have a broad background when it comes to finance. I'm also a real estate investor with Caleb. We manage our properties like he mentioned. So that's basically a background for us.
And we just kind of wanted to kind of share a little bit of our journey, with everyone. Everybody has a different journey in life. I just wanted to kind of let you guys know a little bit of our real estate journey. We started in 2008 together. We invested in our first property in 2008. I think we paid like $175,000 for it, but that's where we started. Didn't feel like we knew everything about real estate at the time, but we just loved looking at houses, loved looking around, being nosy, looking at everybody's model home, even looking at the rich $1 million homes, the estate sales. I think you used to go to too.
Love those properties.
Yeah, and then basically after buying our first home, we stayed in there probably I think we were just being nosy, looking around. We didn't even buy blinds yet for the house. Like we had I think paper blinds up, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But we saw a second property and we fell in love with it. It was a 3-story house and we just fell in love with it. We were like, man, let's build one of these. Didn't even put blinds up on the first one. And what we did was we're just like that. We're like, how do we get it? So we talked to the lender and they were like, you own a property. Why don't you find tenants for your first property? And then we could put you under contract over here. So what we did was we had to figure it out, how to get a property management contract. How do we find, and at this time I wasn't a real estate agent, how do we find the contracts and how do we get this going? And basically we got it going and we found tenants, got a contract, built the 3-story home. And as Corey stated, it was a house out of the 6 that we bought, that it was one that we sold. That was that house. We stayed there. We stayed in our first house for
a little over a year. We were there for a little bit over a year. And like Caleb mentioned, we just basically just picked up and left. We had to figure out the entire process on our own, going through Google, just asking questions. And that's really the big thing, was basically asking a lot of questions, talking to a lender, just finding out just different strategies that we could do. So that is the strategy that we went with. We went ahead and we packed up everything. We moved to that second property. The basement was not finished.
It wasn't finished. Nope.
We spent that time there. We spent about
saving
5
money
years there.
Yeah, we had to save like 12, 15 grand. But we stayed there like 5 years. And when we finished that property, we did have the goal of, hey, we finish it, you know, it's going to be worth more. And this was, once again, I think the recession was still going on.
Yep.
That's what they say on TV. They say recession, but we were doing fine. And basically, we sold that house. The money I made from that house, you know, we made like, you know, a little over 100 grand. And I was like, that's the money I'm going to use to put aside so I could quit my job so I can do what I want to do full time. And that's what we did. But moving on from the second house, our third house basically was in a new neighborhood. I think it was
it was a brand new neighborhood. We moved out of that property. When we moved out of the house with the basement, we moved into the house with the actually I was just found out that I was pregnant at the time. And so that was just crazy that we got a contract on our house at the same time that I found out that I was pregnant with our second child. And so we took the money, we moved to an apartment, waited for this house to finish building. And so we finally moved into that property. And then that was about 5 years ago. We stayed there and we kind of talked through like, okay, what are we going to do next? So we stayed in the house for about a little over a year. And we were like, well, maybe we should rent this out at some point. And it just so happened that God lined it up just correctly to where I just happened to be at a dentist appointment and it just took way too long. And I was like, well, let me just reschedule. I went over to the, the model home. Mm-hmm. And I was happened to be talking to a lady that was there and the actual realtor that was in the office. And she said, yeah, there's a lady in here and she's looking to rent. And I was like, well, this might be a great, opportunity. So I just happened to talk to her. She pulled up as I was walking back over to the to our house, and she was like, yeah, I'm looking to rent and blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, well, let me talk to my husband. I walk in the house. I say,
I'm playing video games, by the way. We just selling down. We just settling down. And she told me there was a lady willing to spend like $2,200 a month. And I was like, I put down the sticks. I'm like, let's move again.
So yeah, I mean, she just happened to, we just crossed paths and she wanted to pay the entire year up front. And so, yeah, which is crazy. So
during that time, I mean, we just started to get in the concept of that strategy in real estate of, hey, if I stay here for a year, I can rent it out and move to the next one and keep doing it. And what that does is it keeps you away. It kept us away from paying 20% down. Like we knew we were investors, but normally as investors, you have to pay like 15, 20% down. Some cases you can pay 10% if it's like your second home or something like that, but paying 20, 25% down to run away from that just to pay 5%. And there's people who may have, if it's a $400,000 home and they're paying 20% down, they got to pay $80,000. We did it in a way to say, hey, if I could stay in the house per year and rent it out and I'm paying 5%, I'll rather do that 4 times and I'll have 4 houses instead of paying 80,000 on one house. I'll rather spend 20, 20, 20, 20 and have, 4 houses. So basically from there, we moved on again. And where did we go from there?
So after that, I told him, I was like, well, the neighborhood that we were actually in, it actually wasn't finished building. So we actually saw another property. It was actually the model home that they were actually building.
In the same neighborhood.
In the same exact neighborhood, one street over.
Yep.
And so we had to pack up everything again, move everything to an apartment again. And so we waited, right, with 2 kids. And so we had to wait for that house to finish building. That took about 6 months for it to finish. Yep. So once that was done, we moved into that property. Stayed
in that property because we had that mentality at that time, like, this is just what we do, I guess. And nobody's really talking about it. Nobody has taught me this, right? God has just set us up like that, where that's just what we do. We kind of just looked at it like, wow. So instead of paying 20%, all we gotta do is move, right? And our kids weren't in school; they were going to preschool, so it didn't matter what school district we were in. So we could move wherever we wanted to move. And staying in that, how long did we stay in that house?
We were there for also probably
Year and a
almost
half,
2 years. It
almost
was
2 years.
almost
Yeah,
about 2 years. That was the benefit of at the time our kids were young, and so we didn't, like Caleb mentioned, we didn't have to worry about the school district. They were in daycare, so we knew that that time was coming to an end, really.
right.
And so at that point we said, okay, where do we want to move
Actually,
next?
yeah, for the kids in school and things of that nature.
What school do we want to be zoned for? And so we ended up moving to Gallatin, which was a different move for us because it was a little bit further out from the area that we typically stay in. And so, but it was a good deal.
It was a sacrifice.
Yeah, it was a sacrifice. It was a brand new well, it was semi-new neighborhood. They were still building, new construction once again. A lot of the properties or all of the properties that we've purchased have been new construction properties.
2-car garages.
Yeah, 2-car garage. This happened to be a 1-car
garage.
garage. So we kind of had to sacrifice a little bit as far as the space, but we knew that it would be worth it in the long run. So we ended up moving there because of that property had 3 bedrooms has 3 bedrooms and 2 flex rooms. And so we knew that that would be very marketable for people to want to actually live in that type of property because then you have those flex spaces. And that just so happened to be around the time when COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
So we were actually living there when we found out we had to be indoors.
It was tough.
And it was crazy. So we ended up staying there we knew we didn't want to stay there for more than a year.
Sure.
So we stayed there for a year, and that's the actual rule. You have to stay in the property for at least a
minimum
year.
time.
Minimum time. And so so we stayed there, and during that time we just happened to just keep looking around and trying to look for other properties, and we found the house that we're in now. And for some reason the builder, I think that maybe when they were pricing, maybe they weren't sure about the pricing, and with COVID.
Yeah, COVID was a big thing because this is the time when COVID, was on everybody's screen, and how many people dying and how many people caught it. And it was a fear thing. So if you even hear from this journey, you're hearing a lot of fear. People had a lot of fear when it was during the recession. Recession lasts for what, like 6 years, at least 7 years, however long it lasted. We were buying houses during that time, during that, and during the time of when we bought this house here, it's the one we have now. It was a huge fear with COVID. Like the new builder came in the subdivision because we have multiple builders in this subdivision, and they just were scared. Like people weren't coming outside. So they were like, we'll give you half off this, half off that, half off if we built another room for you, half, because they didn't know how it was gonna play out. So we took that. We're like half that. So we were blessed definitely on this property. This property to me gave us the fastest equity. Yeah. We paid like $430,000 for this house. And I could sell it. And we paid $430,000 for this house last year, February. We've been in this house for a year and a month, and we could sell this house for over $700,000 today. And that's just kind of like what real estate kind of brought to us. And we just kind of wanted to leave y'all with, 3 of the main reasons, because you guys kind of heard, I bought it for this, or we moved again, kind of the 3 motivating factors that kind of motivate us to really buy real estate and invest in real estate and why we love it is, one is cash flow. Cash flow, some people hear it as passive income. Having a tenant in your home that you own, and they pay rent. But what you do with that rent money is you pay your mortgage payment, and you also pay maybe your property management or whatever other fees you have that you have to pay with that check. Whatever's left over, that's profit for you. That's your passive income. So that's one of the main reasons we love real estate.
And then the other 2 is their appreciation, number 2. And then the third one is the loan pay down. So for the appreciation, of course, when you're in a property over time, that property appreciates in value. So therefore, the difference between the value and the actual loan amount, that is your equity. And so we love the fact that when you purchase a property over time, your value is, or your house value is going to go up. And so, like, for instance, the house that we have in Goodlettsville, we purchased that at about $175,000. We can sell it now for about $370,000. So that gap is that equity. And then, of course, number 3 is that loan pay down. One thing about having a property that someone else is living in is the fact that they're living there, they're working for the money, they're the ones that are paying down
Yep.
the actual balance on the house. That just also depends on how much you're charging, of course. So let's say your amount for your mortgage is $1,000 and then you're charging them $1,900. You're paying that $1,000 on your mortgage payment and that loan balance is being paid down. So you're basically getting a benefit on both ends. You're getting that appreciation, which is the value, the market value of the house going up, and you're also getting that person paying down that value as well. So you're basically winning on both ends. So that is the best part to me about, those are the three of the best parts about investing in real estate. That's cash flow, appreciation, and of course the loan pay down piece of that.
Nice. Great information, great intro. And listen, fellas, you must go to www.blackmensundays.com, scroll to the bottom, subscribe. If you have questions, even if you're not available to be on the recording, if you have questions, your questions are guaranteed to be answered. So we're going to go to one of the subscribers' questions for you guys. What's your advice to potential first-time home buyers who are scared to invest in real estate?
First of all, I'll try to figure out what that fear is. But even without knowing that specific fear, you have options. So let's say your fear is, man, what if I lose my job? What if I buy it and invest and I lose my job? Well, you can sell it. What if your fear is, what if I want to try the thing like you tried and I rent it out to a tenant, or I can't find a tenant? First of all, everybody's going to need a place to lay their head. That's one thing about real estate is you're going to have to sleep somewhere. And we never had problems finding tenants. Never. I think like tenants versus owners, there's mad tenants out there. And they would love to live in a house. So I never had a problem with that. There could be, you just have multiple options. If you can adjust the rent, if you feel like, oh man, nobody's, coming, like, maybe if I lower the rent, you can increase it, sell it, use the equity out of it to hold you down for quite some time that you need to find the next job if you lost your job. You can do like we did and sell it and use that money to quit your job. There's so many options when you own a house. It's not just like anything else, like you either buy or sell. Like, nah, you can put family in it. We even use one of our houses, like we stated our journey, we even used one of our houses. We moved back into one instead of going to an apartment because it was a time to where one of our rental properties was coming up. And we were like, man, we're supposed to relist it so we could get another tenant. We were like, nah, instead of living in an apartment like we did, let's move back to one of our houses. So if there's ever a situation that we have, we could look at all of our properties and say, let's say we get in a tight spot, like, you know what, man, there's a recession or whatever, and you lost your job. It's like, okay, well, let's pick the house that has the cheapest mortgage payment and let's move into there. So it's just so many options, and that's one of the reasons we love it as well.
Great information, because and I'm gonna ask this one more question. I'm gonna open it up to the fellas, let them slide in, because just to let you guys know, this Black Man Sunday. So on the live, you have a lawyer on here that owns his own law firm. You have homeowners on here. You have business owners as well. So, and then when, on our podcast, I mean, the stage is wide open. There's brothers that have never owned homes. There's brothers that want to own homes. And there's brothers that I've talked to that say, I don't need to own a home to get generational wealth. I can just invest in Robinhood. I can just invest in stocks. What advice would you have to that comment?
I would say to each his own. I could just tell my story. If you believe that you can gain generational wealth through stocks alone, have at it. For me, it's all about ownership. That's just the main. So if you feel like you own stock and you've seen and you do your research and you've seen it happen and you got a coach or you're educated on it and you see the pattern like we've seen to get our second and third and fourth and fifth house and be confident about it, have at it. I'm not saying that, hey, real estate is the only way, but I do believe in ownership, and I do believe having money work for you or having somebody work for you. Like in our case, having tenants is like somebody working for you because they're paying down your loan, your debt, and increasing your pockets, increasing your net worth. So to each his own. But just make sure that you do your research when it deals with investing in general. Make sure you have somebody that knows what they're doing and you see the results that they have them mentor you or whatever it takes. But see the results for sure. And if the results are working for you, then hey, have at it. That's how I kind of approach things.
Gotcha. And my second question is, because just hearing you guys, you typically on average about 2 years in the home. Is that advice that you would, give to our audience about living your house about 2 years before you think about making a move, selling it, renting it out, i.e.?
Yeah, I guess it really depends on, if you have the funds available to purchase the next property. I guess however long it'll take for you to save that money. And of course, you can talk to a lender to find out like different strategies as far as like a down payment. If you need a down payment assistance or if they have any kind of programs for that can help you to get to where you want to be faster. But as long as you stay there for that amount of time that they're requiring you to stay in the property, I mean, that's the number one thing to look at is your actual time limit the amount of time you have to spend in the property for the first house before moving to the next one. But for us, we've stayed around a year and a half. We were at that property for 5 years, but on average, it was about a year and a half.
And we were able to do that. So everybody's in a different situation. So we would be on to our 10th house probably if we didn't have kids. If we were able to if you're single and you're doing this, you move anywhere. Get up, move, year. Get up, move, year. If you're married, no kids, get up, move, year. If you got kids and you don't care about them switching schools every 2 years or whatever, do it, but it depends on that person's situation. Also dealing with money. It depends what your end goal is as well. If your end goal is to, hey, I want 5 houses and I want those 5 houses to be, passive income for that and be set for life. If your goal is to, hey, keep rolling the dice, then if you got 20%, why not split up 5, 5, 5, 5 and have 4 houses instead of putting the whole 20% in one, just leveraging, in different situations. But
I guess everybody has a different strategy. It's all about the strategy. With real estate, I feel like there's a lot of different strategies that you can use. And this is just one. And so everybody will be able to, once you do your research, you'll be able to kind of come up with your own.
So for the brothers and sisters out there who've always rented, that are renting, they're comfortable renting, they don't feel like they have enough money to own a home. Are there any programs that you can offer or just, put out that the brothers can research just to, you know what I mean?
I'd say reach out to your local lender, wherever you're at. I know for this Tennessee market that I'm in, they have things like, THDA loans and things of that nature, which I try to help people with that, which I get with lenders instead of professionals at it. And I have them speak on like my social media pages by asking them what programs are offered. And, some of them have it to where they pay your down payment. They have other programs, to where, they have governmental assistant type programs. So I would say get with your local lender. The reason I say local lender is because, they have internet, all type of lenders everywhere, but the one that's local to you will know about the specific governmental programs that they have for that specific area. There's different ones for depending on which area it's in. So that's what I would say on that one.
Okay, great information. And also for the brothers out there that are renters, never owned a property, because for me, I mean, I'm a brother where I've only lived in my house 3 years. No one really in my family owned. They're from New York, so they've always rented.
Wow.
So yeah, man. So you learn a lot when a family member passes away. Been in that apartment since 1970. They passed away in 2021, and there's nothing to get out of that. You know what I mean? So it does hit you a little different. I'm cool with putting my business out there because I know I'm not the only one going through this. It's a generational issue. Like, in the past shows, we talk about generational wealth, but we also have to mention generational poverty, and we have to escape from that. You know what I mean? So that leads to my final question before we open the stage up to the brothers is, for the brothers out there that, okay, I have a little money. I wear Celine. I can buy Balenciaga. I have a car. I have an apartment. I have some funds, but I'm not spending the money correctly. So what type of credit score should I bring to the table before I say, okay, let me get a realtor? What type of credit score? What minimum should I have? And how much money down, how much cash down should I have available?
I would say, you know, each lender is different. So, you know, once again, talk to a professional lender. You know, from, you know, what I've seen is, you know, having, you know, partners as lenders saying, they say that a 580 at the lowest. I think that's like a FHA loan. So I think that's like the minimum. And as far as dealing with, you know, the money thing and renting situation, you know, I think platforms, you know, that you have, Corey, going on here, I believe the brothers that are on here and they get to pay attention and listen to the success that someone else had dealing with ownership, then they could either further educate themselves. And then whatever they do after they educate themselves or after hearing your podcast, it's up to them. Everybody's going to make a different decisions. You know, like the Bible say, for my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So you can get what you can get from this podcast, from books and everything else of that nature, but it's up to you to make that decision. Now, if you hear everything that you hear on the podcast and the previous podcast, I think it was episode 5, where it talks about, you know, real estate and things of that nature. I got greatly blessed from the brother that was on air. You hear that information, you could do what you want to do with it. And you might say, hey, it's easier to rent. That, hey, if you good with living like that, you know, to each his own. But this is a great platform for that. So, you know, just get educated. And if it's your decision to rent for life, rent for life. Have your money work for you somehow.
Gotcha. And the show he's talking about, episode 5, that was brother Tony Bland. He went into mad gems on that. But right now, let's open the floor to the brothers. Go ahead, guys. I know you got questions.
Is there like an emergency fund strategy that you could talk about to help reduce the risk in case multiple renters don't pay the rent simultaneously?
You know, typically lenders, they'll require you to have some type of a reserve before you even purchase the next property. So it depends on the lender. Some people may need like 5 months, 4 months, 6 months. So that's a good question to ask the lender. How much do you require in your reserve? Because they do want to see that. They want to make sure that, like you said, if everybody decides not to pay, where are you going to get the money from? So that is something that is a requirement.
And I think they count. Then they also can count your 401k if they see, you know, they can count that as part of that percentage, whatever the percentage they give you or require for that reserve.
Yeah, that's a good
emergency.
point.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize that if you ever get in a situation to where you don't have a reserve, you can always show them that statement. You don't have to pull the money out. They just need to see
it that is there.
So when you get considered for amount to purchase a property, say you already got 3 properties, when they're determining how much they're going to lend you, do they consider the rental amount as far as addition to your debt to income ratio and all that stuff?
Yeah, so they take, like, let's say you have like a rental property that's like $2,000 a month. They'll take that and multiply it by 75%. So they'll take that amount and add that to your income. So yes, that is in consideration to get the next property. They have to use the funds, and then you just give them an actual copy of your contract, and then they can take that number and then they can put that into your ratio. And of course, you know, as far as accuracy with my statement, you definitely want to talk to them for just the exact number that they're going to use.
Right. Okay. Appreciate the info. And keep up the great work. Thanks for spreading the knowledge. Really helps a lot.
Thanks, man.
Is there any type of special insurance that that the lenders have you to carry once they know that you're going to rent the property out, outside of, you know, the regular homeowners insurance that you must carry on the home? Is there any special type of insurance you have to put on the house? Yeah,
so they do require you to, once you change it from your primary residence to your rental, to a rental property, you do have to get change your type of insurance coverage to let them know that you do have tenants in that property. So that amount would change as far as the amount for your property. So you'll basically get a brand new policy when you have a tenant in the property.
And it's important to tell your insurance company that is actually a rental property, because if anything happens to that property and it's a rental property and you didn't let them know that it's a rental property and they didn't change over the policy, you know, insurance companies always trying to get away with stuff. So just make sure that matches up, because if it don't match up, one of the dudes told me at Liberty Mutual, he was like, oh, you weren't covered. So it has to match what it actually is for. If it's your primary residence, let them know. Boom. Once you switch it over to tenant or a rental property, let them know. Make sure they change the policy so that house will be considered a rental property.
Yeah, make sure there's no gaps in there. That
Yeah,
was
no
really one.
gaps.
We hadn't had to actually go in and actually put in a claim during a gap, but yeah, just making sure that you follow up with them, make sure
Yeah.
that they've actually changed it over, because sometimes they'll turn it off and then
They forget
they
to
forget
follow
to
up
turn it
or
back
change
on.
it.
You
Yeah.
change it over to the actual renter type of insurance. So yeah, just make sure you follow up with them.
Did you guys utilize the equity in your home to pay for other homes? Or did you use your liquidity on hand or your cash on hand? How did you finance the 5% that you are that's mandatory for you to pay?
Sometimes I think this is the first time I think we're actually going to start using our equity to purchase other homes and things of that nature. But, saving and, tapping to your 401k if needed. And, during the time that, we were in for a year or two, the property, saving, just knowing that, hey, we're going to keep this thing going. You got to tap into your 401k again, do it, move on. Making passive income from the previous property, saving it. But this is the first time that we're actually, and I think we got a lot of things to talk about, because the equity that we accumulated is kind of like, okay, what do you want to do? And when we know we could buy houses, with the equity, because that's what it's good for, to do. But yeah, this is our first time to actually really do it. So glad you asked that question, because that's something that, we definitely need to talk more about, because this is going to be our first time doing it that way. But yeah, we mostly just saved.
Yeah, save. 401k is a big one. I think that that was something that we definitely, especially right there at the beginning, just tapping into that, just to get that money. Because over time, as you can see in the market right now, the longer you wait, then you're dealing with the higher prices. So just back to the simple savings. Look at what you're spending your money on. Try to see where you can cut different things. It could be small things, just not noticing that things are being charged to your credit card that are annual or monthly fees. Just cutting down on the spending. And then like I said, major thing was definitely 401k.
I had a question actually about the tenant situation, because Nelson and I, we are trying to do like real estate and dip our toe into the real estate market. We just got our second home. And I've always told him, because I suck at managing people. Well, I don't suck at it, but I just don't like it, right?
Yeah.
So I think having, in my mind, it's like, okay, now if we have tenants, then we have to make sure they pay on time and they don't tear up our house. So, so I guess my question is, have you ever had like a really bad tenant that like tore up the house? Now you got to put all this stuff into it, or they didn't pay, or they were just shady?
It was in our rookie years. It was our first property. You know how we had to hurry up and find somebody so you get that second house?
Okay.
It was during our rookie years of that first house, and we learned a lot.
Of stuff.
But they didn't necessarily, thank God, didn't like tear up the house.
Not
How people
horribly,
get mad
and
and
patch a wall,
yeah, but it wasn't like where they put cement inside the toilets and all that. Like it wasn't no horror story, but the horror story came from just being bad tenants, meaning like them not paying or
they just
coming
left.
to that point.
Yeah,
Or
we had
just random
somebody
stuff, man.
We had someone that just left up and left. We didn't know. We've had someone, that same property, they just didn't pay.
They couldn't pay.
And
they had kids and everything.
We had to get them out of there. So so we
Wow.
learned a lot, definitely from that. And just by learning those things, we were able to kind of put more parameters around,
Yes.
When we're first trying to find the tenants and kind of screen them.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, the screening process became a very, very
Serious
vital
thing.
part of trying to find someone, because once you screen them and you know what you're looking for, I feel like that makes the entire process
so easy,
so much easier, because now you're dealing with somebody that you have screened and you know that they're dependable. And then usually at that point, you don't have an issue after that.
And I mean, and also like we do it ourselves because we both been in credit, but you can get if you got a friend, lender, make friend, have a friend and, make friends with lenders because they could do it for you. Like they can do the credit part for you. Like, would you, would this be a guy that, or, family that would, be good or whatever to enter into the home, blah, blah, blah. And they could do it for you.
Got it. Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, we basically just kind of been hurt, doing the first go around, during your rookie years, you make mistakes and that's how you learn. So, I don't regret those, those moments because it kind of got us to where we're at today and managing to where we're just very careful who enters in our house because it's harder to get them out, once they're in. So just taking your time or, who gets in there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I think another problem that I'll have to get over to is being too attached to the houses that I live in. So I know that that's something that, you can't be attached if you want to, I guess, play the game that you guys are playing. Follow-up question though. I think I heard Caleb say something about a management company. Do you guys have a management company for your properties now?
Yes.
Okay.
I manage our personal properties plus other people's properties, and I do it. We have our own LLC, but we're my broker's license I don't have yet, but I'm under KW right now. That's my mission to always own. When I say ownership in real estate, it's not just in real estate. I want to own everything that I have. So I do want to own my own real estate firm. But yeah, right now, it's under the license of Keller Williams Realty.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
I got another one, Corey, real quick. So I know you guys said when you put a renter into your first property, the requirement went from like 20% down from the second property to 5%, right? So how does that work? So people will know kind of what to do if they're in that situation.
So
It was
yeah,
3.5 the first one.
Yeah, I think the first one we did was as an FHA loan, and that was 3.5%. And then from there forward, we did conventional loans, and that's about 5%.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 3.5, and then some people could refinance into a conventional loan, and then the second house you really could probably do a 3.5 again if you want, to stay low. But starting off first time home buyer 3.5%, and then everything there on forward, if you stay in there at least a year, you can go a conventional loan of 5% down payment.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah.
So, initially we talked about you guys, the first two homes, but like I said in the intro, Sharice and Caleb Dossman own 5 properties, 5. So we only got through the first 2. So let's talk about the plans for number 3, number 4, number 5, and also a subscriber question that kind of mixes in with this is, what risks did you identify when you decided to buy your second property? But I want to expand that question to, what risk did you identify when you bought second, third, fourth, and fifth?
So of course, the more properties you purchase, of course, the risk is definitely that, like Juanita mentioned, you run the risk of people possibly making messing your property, destroying, some of your property. So to me, that is the risk. I mean, of course, when you purchase in more homes, you're opening up yourself to more of those opportunities to happen. We did go through and talk about the 5, which the fifth one is, of course, the house that we're in now. But in total, we did purchase a total of 6 properties. And so, and we, like Caleb mentioned, we did sell one of them, and we used those funds, and he was able to leave his job. But that is the main risk to me, is definitely that those tenants do have the possibility to mess up your property. However, you can kind of, screen them beforehand, and you can learn a lot, but just by looking at credit alone, just as far as dependability and things like that.
So you can kind of basically manage. It's a risk that can be managed. Yes. It's a risk that can, how you said, decrease.
You can minimize your risk by, adding parameters
around it to make it easy. And then also just, we knew the area that we were investing in. So when you do invest, make sure you kind of do some research about what's to come. We were always interested into okay, this looks like an interesting house, but what is building around it? What's building a mile away? How close as far as Walmart or Publix, or just getting a feel of the area. And when you see growth, you know, I always see cranes, I always see new things building, you know, that's growth to me. So, you know, just make sure that you invest, you know, when you do purchase, that you're purchasing the areas that are growing and that seems like people want to be at.
School districts.
And yeah, school districts, exactly. And one of the things that my wife and I kind of talked about on all of our investments is us purchasing something that we wouldn't mind living in. So not just purchasing something just to buy something, throw tennis in there. Something that if I had to go back there, I could live there. If I like it, they'll like it. You know, and that's kind of what we've been rolling with. And all of our houses, like, people love. So
yeah, and I think, and I mentioned the school districts because one thing that I've noticed is that, or both noticed, is that when you have a property that is in a desirable school district, it makes it a lot easier to find tenants because a lot of people are moving or looking at houses to move their kids into, or their family into, to where within that area, you know that you're going to be able to get a desirable school. So that is something that I think that is something that is really important to think about when you're purchasing a property. Like, will this come up as a green flag for people that,
right,
hey, this is zoned for this specific school? Because people will pay.
they will
pay for their children. They will pay an extra funds knowing that they're going to get into a good school where they don't have to pay for private school, because the public school is actually a desirable school. So that's just something to definitely keep in mind when you're thinking about investing.
Because I mean, even as a realtor, I'm seeing people come to Tennessee from California just moving down here. And, you know, if they have a family, you know, one of the main questions they're going to ask is, where are the good schools? And then they're led to this area and they're led to that area. So if your house falls under one of those areas, you will always be good.
At what point is it a good time to sell the roof over my head?
I mean, I can only tell you what I would do. And my thing is, you know, it's not like the stock market to me. You know, buy low, sell high. That sounds like stocks. Like I said, in real estate, you have options. Just give me the situation, I'll give you an option. In this situation, what I would do is, you're able to still own that house that you're in. You don't have to move nothing. You can take the equity, do a refinance, take the equity that you have in your home, which I'm sure, since houses are, you know, skyrocketing right now, that you have good equity, that you could take that and use it, maybe do like a second home and pay only 10% down. Find a home maybe in Florida, or find a home somewhere, you know, in some mountain area, wherever, and, you know, pay 10% down and buy a second home and Airbnb it, or pay for property management to manage it for you. And you don't have to even leave the house, because, you know, the good thing about doing that is the fact that, you know, when they say buy low, sell high, you know, you don't know how high. You don't know. It was plenty of times where I was in the stock market where it was like, oh, it's high. I think that's it. And it takes a little quick breather, and it still goes up. And people are like, when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? And the people that got off, they missing out. So with real estate, you could keep your house, take that money out, use that money out of your equity, don't even move. And then you could still, what was one of the three, have your house appreciate at the same time. And that 10% that you put in another house, that probably is appreciating as well. And you could just stick in the crib that you got, and, you know, and don't have to move if you don't want to. If you do want to move, then you could just move and pay 5%. So it depends on, you know, your finances, the equity that you have, kind of what you want to do. 5%, you can move, find renters in there, and you can find renters and get a contract before you even move out your current house. So 5%, 10%, or do 20%. I mean, it just depends, you know. But yeah, I don't think you have to, you know, sell or get rid of.
Like, even for instance, like we were talking about, you know, the house that we purchased with the basement, and the house that we sold. That is a property to where, like, we bought it like for in the 2s, and like we sold in the 3s, but then right now it's worth about 5 or almost
Right.
6. So, you know, because we sold, we missed out on that opportunity to get that extra $200,000. So
We could have actually kept that house.
yeah,
And
if we had known more of the options, like if we had decided to, hey, let's rent it out. And we did talk about that, but at the time we said, well, we didn't really want to turn it into a rental because we just felt like the house was, we just were ready to just sell because we felt like we didn't want to manage a house that size. But when we're looking back now, you know, looking in the past, we could have just kept it. We could have just turned it into a rental. You can always add a line of credit on the property, and just take out that equity and use it to purchase the next one.
That's true.
So yeah, definitely, I would definitely talk to, you know, a lender about options, just so that you'll know all of the different options that you have before selling. And then, but if that's the situation that you're in, where you feel like you should sell,
if you have a plan for it,
you have a plan, go for it.
Multi-family properties, have you considered putting that into your investment portfolio for real estate?
Yeah, we've been talking about that lately. We are trying to, of course, you know, right now the market is crazy. But we're definitely thinking about that now, to look at some type of multi-family type of unit.
In our area, we would have to basically buy land and build on it, develop the land and build multi-property units, because it's hardly none for real for sale right now. And I mean, they have like a lot of duplex options out in Nashville, but it's not that many options as far as like just buying it. And I just always looked at it. I mean, and looking at the ones that are available, I just looked at it like, hey, I might as well just build my own and utilize it that way. Or it's a kind of a shortage of developed land out here. So they got land, but it's not developed land. So that's kind of something that we've been thinking about, and I've been trying to, when I find time to get into it, that I want to do is develop land and actually possibly build a multi-unit or something like that. I mean, but yeah, we certainly have considered.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the same problem out in Atlanta right now. There's just not that many duplexes available. So it seems like you're going to have to. We looked at Alabama, and the return on investment wasn't really popping because the rent was so low out there in some of these rural areas. But wife and I were thinking too, we might as well just try to buy some land and just do it on duplex. So yeah, I was just wondering, because it seemed like that's a good option for a first-time buyer. So I guess anyone that might be a first-time buyer, because we get a duplex.
That's a great option.
Yeah, you're able to buy, and then your tenant is paying your rent in your property, so you live for free. So you can take that money and start flipping it that you're saving on rent or mortgage. So
strategy.
That's a strategy.
It's a strategy.
There's so many different, you know, strategies. You know.
Yeah, I love that strategy. I think that's an awesome
strategy. Especially for first-time home buyers.
Yeah, if you're a first-time home buyer and you could take one side and you can your home mortgage is $1,000. And you decide that you're going to rent out the other side for $1,000, you can live on the other side for free. I mean, it's just it's a great strategy. That's the benefit, that loan pay down. That's benefit number 3 that we talked about. You know, just going into that loan pay down, and you don't even have to do anything at that point.
So I got my little cousin on the line. Make sure you take note of that. Instead of Corey just telling you, you heard it from someone else's mouth. And when you get into the point where you're developing that land, man, hit me up, because I need to learn that as well. So
for sure. Hey, I got to do it, man. I got to do it, because I'm like, it's not that many. Like I said, it's not that many options. So I'm like, why don't I create it and provide options and let builders come to me? You know.
Yes, sir. And keep in mind those $50,000 Tesla houses that Elon Musk is putting out. I'm trying to see how we can flip those. But look it up when you get a chance. All right.
$50,000 houses.
Tesla, yeah, they're like Tesla boxes or something like that. The Elon Musk is, yeah, man, they high tech too. So I was telling Corey, they might have like a concept of a digital trailer park, because you know inside of them, you know, 50,000 of. So check that out when you get a chance.
So that mean we might be able to buy land and put a bunch of those Tesla boxes on there.
Exactly.
Watch out, brother. You teaching me.
Like me and Sonny, we getting popping up here.
All right. Well, I was going to say, are there any last comments you guys want to make?
Sure. Just want to let you know everything we told y'all, the journey and all that stuff. You know, we accumulated. You know, we acquired like a little over 2.5 million you know, and you know, the value of homes and things of that nature in real estate. And we, you know, plan on continuing doing what we're doing, just in a different way. So we've done this strategy that got us to this point. Now we're working with equity to where, you know, we got to figure out what, you know, we want to do, what's next. So we got all type of ideas. Now we throwing the Tesla boxes in there, you know.
Right.
So we just got, you
Put a
know,
star next to that one.
right. So we got a lot of options now. And, you know, sometimes, you know how you go in a store and you know, you want to buy everything when you ain't got that much money in your pocket, right? But then when you got the money, you go back in the store, you realize you don't really want to buy nothing, or you're taking your time, and you know, everything looks differently. And that's where we're at now. So we're just watching real estate, we're watching everything. But one thing we do know is that our money's going into real estate, you know. So but just want to let everybody know our end goal is to chill. I mean, our end goal is basically to let all these properties pay for our living. You know, our end goal is for me to be able to play video games with my son today and not work like I was dealing with a property, you know, today. My end goal is to be able to have passive income to cover everything, all my needs, to where I could wake up when I want to wake up, you know, I could do what I want to do. So that's our end goal, is to keep doing what we're doing. And, you know, we believe that it's going to get us there.
I agree.
Gotcha.
So we just definitely don't want anybody to forget, you know, the benefits, like we talked about, you know, cash flow appreciation and loan pay down. Those are the main things that we love about real estate. We love all of the aspects of real estate. We love all types of real estate. And so we're definitely going to use what we've learned so far, and of course what we've learned today,
Right.
And use that to our benefit in the future to gain freedom,
So
more time.
Yeah. And whatever you do, just make money work for you. I don't care if you do stocks. I don't care. Like, do you can rent all your life, but make sure money is working for you some way besides you going into work. And that's the only way that you're working for money. Make money work out.
Great information. That concludes Black Men Sundays. We have one more show before we start our season 2. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Caleb and Sharice, thank you for your information. Very enlightening. You got me wanting to go buy a couple more properties. I've been a little scared to step into them waters, but I'm like, you know, we have a little bit to play with, so I think I might step out after hearing from you guys. So thanks for your information. Thank you for your time. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you spent it with us on Black Men Sundays. Peace.
Peace.
It's a Black Man Sunday.